everyone, welcome back to Red Tool House, and specifically to the retreat. We are going to do things a little bit differently for this video. We wanted to invite you to the retreat to join us in our discussion of plans for what our retreat is going to be, a little bit more of the specifics.
We feel there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors, and we want your all's input on what we're trying to build here. So if you would, indulge us, come along and participate with us in this video.
So we've given you a little bit of information about what this retreat is for, but we want to give you a little bit more information to kind of see the broad picture of exactly what we want to do here. So Troy and I have been talking about building a retreat for several years now. We have a passion for pouring into the lives of married couples, specifically because we've been through a difficult time, and we have come out on the other side, and our marriage has been drastically turned 180 degrees, I would say, yes. Over many years.
Yeah. 26 years of
Yes.
ups and downs, and yeah, a lot of challenges. A lot of times we didn't think it was going to stay together. It was going to be a train wreck.
Yes. We feel that in culture today, marriage is not as important as maybe it should be. And so we just want to help others that have had a difficult path, and I would say that probably most marriages have at some point. We want to help them and kind of share our experience and hopefully get them talking and get them communicating in a way that maybe they too can experience the joy on the other side.
So what we're doing back here, to Kelly's point, is something that's going to kind of have to be rolled out in phases. Firm believers in you got to crawl before you can run type of thing. So, we're not building a big conference center out here, and but we want to start small. But our goal right now is to be able to get a couple out here to be unplugged, get away from all the hustle and bustle, all the electronic foolishness, and be able to prompt them, or just point, I guess, maybe subtle points into, hey, have some real conversations. Sit around a campfire and talk about things other than the kids in school and all those type of things. So that's what we're trying to facilitate here, is this unplugged, off-grid setting that a couple can come and enjoy. But long term...
So we realize that an off-grid location is not going to fix a marriage. So our ultimate goal will be to have several couples here at once in their each private locations, whether it be cabins, more than one cabin, tents, and I'm talking about glamping type tents where they have space and they feel comfortable. But to come together for a conference where they are exposed to materials that, pour into their lives, get them talking, get them connecting, talking about issues that matter, and not just, oh, did you pick up the kids today, and what's for dinner, and those kind of things that most people are dealing with on a daily basis because of their schedules.
Yeah, to that point, so it's like this grocery list that we see at some point. So phase 3, phase 5, phase 10, whatever this is. Right. People that want to engage with what we're offering here, it's a grocery list. Say, hey, I need to come out maybe every couple months with my spouse, and we need to hang out here and just hang out. To somebody saying, we need help.
Right.
And Kelly and I are blessed to be part of a church and an organization that has a pretty broad network, so we can get professional marriage counselors to be involved, and I feel strongly in that these men and women would be more than happy to come out and say, hey, we're going to come out during this retreat and this weekend, and there's 2 couples, there's 4 couples, there's 5 couples, whatever we can handle, and be able to have a professional discussion, present information that's way beyond our pay scale.
Exactly. So it's not just going to be us pouring into these marriages.
Right. Yeah.
We will have many that can also add to that as well.
So the idea, of course, is to get input from you guys. We want to be proactive. We know we're a long way from having our first guest here, but we want to take the time to research, to budget, to to figure out all the nuances, to put details in place, because we think details are really what's going to sell it. So if the purpose of this video is to have you guys help us look at those type of things. And then if there's specific products we know we got to have, then I want to leverage what YouTube does and what they're able to do. So if we find a product that we think, hey, we need to have this, this would be helpful, then I want to try to save money and try to save resources to invest in other parts of the retreat by reaching out to those companies and say, hey, we're going to document this on our channel. What would you think about sending us this product and let us test it? And it's funny because we really actually stuck our toe in that water already and have some products that we're running into that. You guys saw a couple videos ago, we introduced the Bluetti solar generator. And that's because of what we're doing here. And so like right here, I've got at my feet, I had another company send me a battery-powered fan. So when you think about the heat of the summer or the cold of the winter and need to have some airflow, we're not going to have a lot of electricity to do that. So something like this. This is a 12-volt fan that Sung Life sent to me and said, hey, give this a shot for your off-grid efforts. See what you think about that. We've had this now for probably 3 months now. Yeah. And it's a good product. The cage, if it was something I was really going to be using off-grid all the time camping, I would want the cage to be a little bit heavier. But it is very effective. It's got a yeah.
That works my face.
Oh yeah, I should just left that on all the time.
Yeah.
You kind of look like a supermodel with that wind blowing your hair back. Yeah.
Can I carry it everywhere? Stop.
So, anywho, it's a 12-volt fan. It's got multiple settings. About a 6-hour continuous run life cycle on high speed. It's got 12 speed settings. My son's been using it all the time. He's has a metabolism of a hummingbird, so he uses it all the time in his bedroom to keep him cool. So little things like that. That's the kind of stuff that, if we're going to play the YouTube game, let's leverage it for what we're trying to do here, right?
For good.
For good, yeah, absolutely. So those are the type of things that if you guys help point to us in a certain direction, certain products, I'm going to try to take advantage of the size of our channel and say, hey, send it to me. I'll feature it. We'll review it. We'll see if it makes sense. And then if it does, man, we'll make sure we use it all the time as we document what we're doing back here. So Kelly and I want to ask you all, put on your camp hats, get your keyboard fingers ready, because we want you to comment below, yes, no on some of the things we're going to throw out here.
Right.
Mention things that we haven't thought of. Really point us in the right direction, because we really covet your all's input, because we've been looking at this so long, it just seems natural to us. This is just part of my backyard, so okay, what's so hard about staying in my backyard? So it's just one of those things we want input. So jump in with us here as we go through this list and explain some of the things that we're thinking of, and you guys give us feedback. Okay, so first and foremost, I think we need to start with the cabin, because that's going to be the first primary overnight location for a couple to stay. The glamping tents and things, we'll get into that later. But right where we're sitting right now, of course, if you've been watching the channel, you know this is where we did our excavation work for our first cabin. This space should allow us to build a 14 by 20 that will have a front porch and possibly a back porch outside of those dimensions. We will be building it like a shotgun style, so open, front door on the front, back door on the back, and it'll be a lofted space. So there'll be a loft with the bedroom. So being off-grid, we do want to have some solar amenities. I don't want to rely on candles and those type of things just because of the safety hazard. 12-volt lighting, those type of things we'll have. So there'll be some solar elements, battery elements. Solar in here is going to be a little tricky, so we'll have to figure that out and see what makes the most sense. But that's what we want as far as that first accommodation. So with that, looking at how we outfitted inside, Kelly, is kind of the next thing that we want your all's input on.
Right. So obviously we want to have a comfortable bed, and it's going to be in the loft, and all the bedding and comforts that go with that. We will probably want a couple of chairs inside, downstairs, or down the ladder.
And we may need an option if somebody can't do a ladder. One of the members of the couple can't do a ladder, where maybe there's an opportunity to have a full-size bed downstairs, so something that we can flip around if need be.
Right. We've talked about, do we have like a small kitchenette so that first thing in the morning when they get up, they have maybe a percolator that they can make their coffee before we, before a campfire is started, or before the outdoor kitchen is going. We talked about putting in a wood-burning stove, which we definitely want to have in the cooler months.
Mm-hmm. I think something that'll be critical to the luxurious side of this is refrigeration. Especially if you're going to be up here in the summer months, you're probably going to want a cold beverage. You're going to want to have a snack, something that'll keep. So looking at 12 volt, some of those 12 volt refrigerators you see in off-grid, maybe a Camper, a Dometic, something like that. So we think maybe that's going to be a pretty big investment, but we think that's going to be necessary. Running water. Now we can do rain catchment all day long, but I'm not really anxious to plumb these cabins for there to be water on tap. To me, that's kind of the off-grid beauty is, yeah, there may be a Berkey filter there where you've got potable water, or maybe it's just a multitude of bottles of water that we've prepared. Obviously don't like having all those bottles, but something that people can feel comfortable with. Hey, I don't have to worry about drinking. I've got water here. If I drink a lot of water or drink little water, I've got access to it. But a little kitchenette, as Kelly mentioned, that before we get the outdoor kitchen built, so maybe a camp stove, or if they want to make a snack, if we're not providing meals for them the entire time, then maybe they have an opportunity to provide their own, or maybe they have an opportunity to make their own. So having those type of amenities in place, the pots, the pans, the utensils, those type of things.
So comment below and let us know what you think the core amenities needed in an off-grid cabin might be.
Okay, another element of this is entertainment. Again, we would be foolish to think that if somebody's going to stay Friday to Sunday here, all we want you to do is have absolutely nothing else to do but sit and look at your spouse for those 3 days and force you to talk. That doesn't work.
That's uncomfortable.
Doesn't work that way. So we want to, again, have entertainment opportunities there, but things that don't lead over into distractions. As I mentioned, I don't want a TV with a bunch of DVDs that people can just sit down and say, yeah, we watched 15 movies, or we watched Lord of the Rings or the entire Avenger series and blew the whole weekend doing that.
Although that's fun.
It is, but maybe that's not.
But not for this weekend.
Maybe that's not the first thing you need to focus on. So we're looking at things like, do we go old school with board games, deck of cards, those type of things. Is this, should we have books? Is it relaxing to sit and read a book? Well, that's kind of a solo thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not gonna. When you're reading, it's like, don't bother me, and when I'm reading, it's like, okay, don't bother me. We're reading. Yeah, plus we're reading the same book.
Yes. So, one of the things that we've talked about is making some nicer hiking trails, well marked, so nobody's going to get lost on the property or on somebody else's property. But other activities that we're trying to think of so that they are not necessarily dependent on us to provide their entertainment, but that if they are most likely city folk that don't have access or don't camp, so don't have access to property on a regular basis, they won't know what to do out here. So we want to have some fun activities. Obviously campfires in the evenings are fun, and so s'mores or conversation around the campfire is fun. But what other types of activities do you think would be beneficial to somebody who might not know what else to do?
If you and your spouse were staying here, knowing the circumstance, what do you think would be some entertainment that you'd like to have that still is not going to be a total distraction and ruin the intent of the weekend? Again, comment below, let us know what you think. I thought it would be really entertaining to leave like a weed eater back here and then point out here's areas that need trim back. Kelly didn't think that was as bonding for marriage as much as it was self-gratifying.
What we need to do is add our farm chores to the list and just teach them what a weekend on the farm is like.
Yes, your responsibilities are to feed the pigs every morning. We're on to something now. This brainstorming session is going great. So let's switch gears here to climate control. Kelly mentioned this a little bit, and I did too with the design, that design of this cabin being shotgun style, we want to be able to have some breezes. West Virginia summers can get pretty warm. Now that's the beauty of being back here in the woods. There's a lot of shade back here, so it's not going to be nearly as hot as it is up at where our house
Which is
located.
one reason we don't want to open up the canopy too much.
Right.
Is to keep some of that shade.
Yeah, so we'll be very selective in what we take out of here for material to build our structures without totally gutting the forest. So doing that, having those type of things in place, so the structure, the way it's built, wood-fired stove obviously for cooler months. Maybe even we have a backup propane heater if somebody's intimidated by keeping a wood fire going at night. Those type of things. Obviously we can't do an electric heat situation. So for cooling, of course, it's just all about airflow being an off-grid. It's not like we're going to be able to run a mini split or anything back here. I'm not putting that type of solar powered energy generating system in here, but it's just about airflow. So like that 12-volt fan, battery powered fans, those type of things, we'll look at that kind of stuff and see if that makes sense as well. And those type of fans too could be helpful for even moving heat in the cabin in the winter months. If we're going to be using this all season long, then those type of things could work out pretty well. So yeah, let us comment below. Let us know what you think. Is the fact that there's no AC back here, is that a deal breaker? Is that going to scare off city folk? Again, we're not talking 100-degree temperatures here, but we could be in the mid 80s, mid to upper 80s, depending on the time of year.
As far as a bathhouse, and that's what we're talking about, a bathhouse at this point, that multiple spaces can utilize. So we'll have it'll be divided up into a shower area and a restroom area, but that'll be away from the cabins and tents in a separate area, not in each cabin.
Yeah, so as Kelly mentioned, try to be proactive there, that if you think of a campground, if you have a bathhouse that's centrally located, and you have multiple dwelling locations around or habitation areas, then they can share. Now there's obviously capacity that you have to look at, but if we're talking a couple couples or several couples, then one shower, one toilet should be fine, but with a demarcation between the two. So if there's somebody in the shower, then somebody could easily be in the toilet bathroom area without any privacy violation there whatsoever. So that's something I've actually already started designing, and we've talked about it already. It's going to be located on the other side of the creek there, and we want that balance of off-grid nostalgia, but also luxuriousness. And we know city folk don't necessarily like outhouses. So we're going to do just like we did up at our camp. You guys have seen that in the channel before. So we're going to have the vermicomposting toilet. So it allows us to have flushing toilet. It's just like a bathroom that you would go to in your house. It just doesn't have a septic field and those type of things. So we'll have that in place with 12-volt systems. We'll be able to pump water, or gravity will be able to put water into the toilet tank. For the shower, same thing we have up at camp as well. There'll be water that will be collected and will be partially purified, not potable water, but partially purified, so it's good enough for showering. And we'll use our Camp Lux propane style heater, those instant water heaters. Works really well. So you're going to have a nice private shower area with hot water if you want it, and water pressure, those type of things. So no shortage of that. Brushing your teeth, those type of things, have all those opportunities there to do so at the shower house. So it's one of those things where I like the idea of not having to have private bathrooms in each dwelling like a campground. So that's going to save me a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of engineering from having to do. But comment below. Let me know what you think. Is that again acceptable? Are there other elements associated with personal hygiene like that we're maybe missing out and you guys would think would need to be critical?
And so now we come to like the miscellaneous, all-encompassing, what have we left out type items. So we, are thinking about the camp chairs that we need to have around the campfires. We're thinking about, we've got to have firewood that is ready, cut and stacked and ready for them to use. So they're not thinking, okay, where do I find firewood around here? We're thinking about, possibly a two-person hammock set up somewhere that they can use. But this is one of the things we want to come to you for, is to help us out with those things, those details that we're not thinking about, or maybe we have thought about and I haven't mentioned, but that's what we don't want to miss out on. We want to make sure that we're not just seeing the big picture, but it's the details that matter to the people that are going to come. So throw out some ideas, comment below, let us know what you think might be something that takes it over the top, because we want to be over the top as far as making sure that you felt like this was a great experience and they even thought of this, you know, kind of thing. So
I do want to address something you guys have probably already thought about, and it's two big hurdles that we have. Off-grid and unplugged is great until it's not, until there's an emergency. And so that's what we're challenged with, and this is how we're addressing this so far. So right now, my plan is, if you're in the cabin, you're here at the retreat, and you have an emergency like the toilet's out of water, or I think maybe the corner of the cabin's on fire, you know, whatever. Hopefully it's not that bad, but there's something that you need to get a hold of Kelly and I immediately. My plan is to have the higher end, you know, the Cobra style two-way radios that they can pick up a radio, hit the dial button or hit the call button, and when we know that we've got guests there, then we're on call. So if it's like, hey, there's a pig standing in the front yard here, we're not sure what to do. Whatever that may be, you know, nobody's bleeding out, so it's not, you know, a 911 emergency. So they can communicate that way. The other thing, when we get over into 911 emergencies, of course, is how do we get them access to a landline or access to dial out as quickly as possible? And that's going to require transportation. So they can obviously pick up the two-way radio, call us and say, you know, my husband fell out of a tree and broke his leg. Can you call 911? Yeah, obviously we can take care of that, and we can run up here and do whatever support we need to do as quickly as possible. But we know that if they need to get out quickly, then we need transportation. It's about a quarter mile to get back here from my sawmill, my barn, which is where kind of, you know, technology dies, stops. So our thought is, if that's where they're going to leave their vehicle, because we know we can't have them driving back here, even if you had a Jeep, it's just not, it doesn't make sense to have them driving back here. So they would have to leave their vehicle at our barn, and we're thinking, you know, a golf cart, a side-by-side, something like that, that's powerful enough to get back here with the hills and the gravel road that we'll hopefully have at some point, and but not too powerful that they decide, hey, I'm going to hit the hill and go four-wheeling type of thing. But is sheltered, so if it's raining, they can transport themselves and their luggage, those type of things. So those are going to be some pretty big investments. But then also where they would park their vehicle, that we have free Wi-Fi, and hopefully by that point we'll have our Starlink in place, so it'll be good Wi-Fi that they could do voice over IP calling, they could do 911, they could do all of those type of things. I could even, my wood shop has phone hookup, so I could even get that going, so they could pick up the phone and use a landline to call 911. So I think we have all that in place. We just need to make sure that we're thinking of those things from a safety emergency standpoint, that if they need to come out and maybe call their kids on Saturday night to make sure they're okay, then they can do so without a whole lot of hassle. That they got to hoof it, you know, quarter a mile one way to be able to do that. So I know some of you guys are really into that type of communication. Really appreciate any feedback or input on that. That would make that more sense. And even, you know, even if you say, hey, I use these two-way radios and hunting all the time, these things are great, here's the ones you need to check out. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. We'd love that type of input.
So as we mentioned before, our long-term goals are to pour into as many marriages as we possibly can to kind of get them on the right foot again, to kind of do a reboot. And we want it to grow as big as is possible, you know, as far as we want to be able to help as many people as we can. So the sky's the limit.
Right, yeah, and our biggest hurdles that we face, of course, is the fact that we're just two people, and it's budgeting and time. You know,
which we have none of either.
Yeah, neither skill. We don't manage time, nor do we manage budget. Yeah, it's you know, obviously the farm, the channel, my marketing company, Kelly's homeschooling, the work that she does, our church activities, our church ministry, obviously all that. Everybody has that in their lives, right? We all got these things going on, so we have to figure out that balance when it comes to time. And of course, budgeting. We're not flush with cash. It's not something that I can say, hey, it's going to take $100 grand to build this, so let's just go do it. But this is where I want to be. I want to be painfully transparent with you people, and I
Oh.
promise another video in the future to get into this. But the reason why we are sitting right here, right now, on all of this earthwork stuff that we did, is because of you all watching our channel and engaging. Everybody knows that YouTube channels can make money. And the bugs are driving me crazy.
Turn the fan on.
Yeah, I should. So the reason we're sitting here right now after all this earthwork is done is because of the channel. That was completely paid for by revenue from the channel, which is just awesome. But I want to thank you first and foremost for that, but we want to leverage that as much as possible. So when you watch our videos, when you comment, when you participate, when you share, when you're actually sort of investing in what's going on here, because we're just going to keep rolling that back into what we're doing here. It goes right back into this property, right back into this development. So even the affiliates, when we're showing products, if it's something you feel is of interest to you that you could utilize, then then a lot of times we get commission from that, and that is funding what we're doing here. We have also discussed the possibility of once we get something in place here where we're ready to start hosting guests, that we find that logical balance to even open this up as an Airbnb. And again, the only reason for that is funding to reinvest and to make this grow faster. So if we have to give up some weekends to have a paying customer come in and utilize this, no marriage structure, and we're not trying to pour into a situation there. They're just coming to hang out in the woods for some reason. They want to come Airbnb in West Virginia. Okay, go for it. So it has logic to it, but we don't want that to obviously trump what we're trying to do. We want that to fund what we're trying to do here. So again, we want to be transparent in this. If you see that, oh wow, they're Airbnb in this because they're trying to make a bunch of money off of it, it's going to go, if we do, if we be blessed that way, that it would make a lot of money, or some other revenue source comes in, then great, because that just means we get to reinvest it into what we're trying to do here.
And you'll be able to watch. You'll be able to see what's happening here as far as what gets built up, and hopefully it'll be good. Yeah.
Along those same lines, we've even discussed, do we get this to the point where we form a 501c3? Do we make this a nonprofit? So there's more access to grants, more access to tax-deductible donations from people that want to see us build this faster. So those are the type of things we want to share as we go along as well. That the funding behind this, the desire behind this, really comes from what you guys are doing by engaging with us on our channel. And again, our channel is going to continue to do all the stuff that it does, but we think that this new retreat is going to be a cornerstone piece of what we do on the channel going forward. Fits right in with homesteading, fits right in with more self-reliance and off-grid type stuff. So we think
like
that's
we said, we feel like it's of utmost importance, and we're passionate about it, so we want to be able to help as many as we can.
Yeah, Lord willing that we can still continue to fund it, and we have the health to do it, then we'll just keep plugging on. And speaking of health, for those of you that pray, keep Kelly in your prayers. She's injured her knee somehow, and she's walking around like some 80-year-old woman. So, in fact, I had to park the side by side right behind the camera so she wouldn't have to walk very far. So when we get back from Homesteaders of America conference, then...
Which hopefully is going to be okay for me.
Yeah, hopefully we won't walk around much. Then we'll be able to get her to a specialist and see if we can get some PT going there. Hopefully it's not a surgical type thing, but something you injured when we went hiking in the mountains 2 months ago, so it's been a bit of an issue. Well, obviously a long video, but we really wanted to share our hearts with you all. We really wanted your all's input.
And we're so excited about it. That's why we can talk so much about it.
Exactly. Yeah, what you're seeing and what was actually there is a difference between a lot of editing. So, but we appreciate you all, man. We love the comments. We love the input. Just encourage you, come with us on this journey. Help us out, because we love input, and we love to see what people think about what we're trying to do here. Yeah. And that's what we want is that input. Well, say goodnight, Kel.
Good night, Kel.
Y'all take
Bye,
care.
guys.